The research ship Horizon moved slowly through the dark space near the border of alien territory. Most of the crew was busy with data collection, but Aaron had been sent on a more simple task. He was a young technician with steady hands and quick thinking, though many saw him only as the quiet worker who fixed machines when they broke. On this day, his duty was to repair a communication relay that had stopped working near a small asteroid cluster. Aaron did not mind the work. The shuttle ride gave him some time away from the noise of the main ship. He liked the silence of space. It reminded him that even though humans had only just begun to spread beyond their home planet, they were now explorers of the stars. His mind often drifted with thoughts of what lay beyond the unknown. The repair was going smoothly. He floated carefully in his suit, tools in hand, adjusting loose panels and testing the signal strength. As the machine began to hum back to life, he allowed himself a small smile. Fixing things gave him comfort. But then the hum of his repair was replaced by another sound. A low rumble came through his comms, followed by a blinding light. His shuttle shook as if caught in a storm. Aaron looked up, and his heart raced. A massive vessel had appeared above the asteroid cluster, blocking the distant stars. Its hull was covered with glowing lines that looked like veins of fire across stone. This was no human ship. Before he could react, a tractor beam locked onto his shuttle. The force pulled him in like a fish caught in a net. He tried to break free, but the controls refused his commands. His comms to the horizon only gave static. Aaron's hands tightened on the seat as the alien ship grew larger and larger before his eyes. The shuttle was swallowed by an opening in the vessel's side. The moment it touched the floor, the power shut down completely. Aaron sat still, listening to his heartbeat. The ramp lowered with a hiss, and he saw figures waiting in the glowing hall beyond. Tall, armored guards with silver masks stood in 2 rows. Between them walked a figure unlike any Aaron had ever seen. She was tall, her steps graceful, and her long robe shimmered with soft shades of blue and white. Her face carried sharp, noble features, and her eyes shone like polished steel. A crown of metal leaves rested upon her dark hair. Even in the tense silence, she carried herself like someone born to rule. Aaron's mouth went dry. He had heard of alien royalty before, though humans had little real contact with such high figures. This must be one of them. The thought both terrified and amazed him. The princess stopped at the foot of the shuttle's ramp. She raised a staff with a crystal at its tip, and her voice rang through the chamber, translated by his suit. "Human," she said, calm but commanding. "You stand within the domain of the Ilari Empire. Speak and explain why you trespass near our border." Aaron swallowed. He had no script for this moment. His mission had been simple: fix a relay, return to Horizon, and file a report. Now he was staring at an alien princess with guards ready to strike if he made one wrong move. "I was repairing a relay," he said carefully. "I did not mean to enter your space. My ship is close by. I can leave as soon as you wish." Her eyes narrowed slightly, as if weighing his words. The hall was silent. Aaron's nerves began to climb higher. He was not a soldier or a diplomat. He was just a technician with a toolkit and a shuttle. How was he supposed to handle this? In a moment of panic, his instinct was to do what he often did when nervous: make a small joke. He had once used humor to calm himself in stressful situations. Without thinking, he let out a short laugh and said, "You would make a cute wife." The words left his mouth before his brain could stop them. He froze. His stomach dropped. What had he just said to an alien princess surrounded by guards? The hall turned quiet in a way that felt heavy. The guards stiffened, their masked faces unreadable. The princess herself did not move at first. Her steel-like eyes locked onto him, and Aaron wished he could pull the words back into his mouth. Then, after a long pause, she lowered her staff. Her lips parted, and she spoke clearly. "I accept." Aaron blinked, stunned. He thought for a moment that the translator had made a mistake. "What?" he whispered. The princess straightened her shoulders. "I accept your proposal," she said again. The guards around her instantly dropped to one knee, bowing their heads. Their voices rose together in a chant he could not understand. The sound echoed through the chamber, filling Aaron with a wave of dread. His hands trembled as he looked around. This had to be some kind of cultural misunderstanding. On his world, his words were only a careless joke. Here, among the Ilari, they carried a weight he could not yet grasp. The princess stepped forward, her eyes never leaving his. "From this moment, you are bound to me. By the laws of my people, your words are binding. You will stand as my chosen partner." Aaron's mind spun. His mouth opened, but no words came. He was a technician, not a prince. He had never been in love, never thought about marriage, and certainly never imagined it would happen like this. He wanted to explain, to tell her she had misunderstood, but the guard's stares kept him silent. He realized then that one careless joke had changed everything. What would the Horizon think when they discovered he was now tied to an alien princess? What would her empire do if he tried to back away? The weight of the unknown pressed down on him, and for the first time in his life, Aaron felt the full force of what it meant to be human standing alone among the stars. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet thought whispered that his life would never be the same again. Aaron stood frozen inside the great chamber of the alien ship. His mind could not process what had just happened. The princess, tall and proud in her shining robe, had accepted his careless joke as a marriage proposal. Her guards still knelt, their heads bowed, their voices steady in a chant that filled the hall. His first thought was to correct her, to explain that his words were not serious, that humans often used humor in strange moments. But his throat tightened. He could not find the courage to speak. Every eye in the room was on him, and he felt as though one wrong word could turn their respect into fury. The princess raised her hand, and the chanting stopped. She stepped closer to him, her robe flowing like water as she walked. Her eyes, sharp as polished steel, studied him. Aaron wanted to look away, but her gaze held him in place. "You spoke with no fear," she said. "In front of my guards, you offered yourself. I accept because I see strength in you. Few would dare such boldness." Aaron's mouth opened, but only a weak sound came out. He wanted to tell her he had not been bold but foolish, that it had been nothing more than nervous words. Yet something in her tone stopped him. She spoke with complete certainty, as though his intentions did not matter. Two guards stepped forward and gestured for him to follow. Aaron's legs felt heavy, but he obeyed. The princess turned, her staff tapping lightly on the floor as she led the way deeper into the ship. They walked through long, glowing corridors. The walls were carved with strange patterns that pulsed with soft light. Other aliens moved aside as the group passed. Their faces showed shock, confusion, and even fear when they looked at Aaron. He realized news of his so-called proposal was already spreading among the crew. Finally, they reached a chamber filled with soft light from crystals in the ceiling. At the center stood a tall throne carved from a dark, shining stone. The princess sat gracefully upon it, while the guards formed a circle around the room. Aaron was guided to stand before her. "I am Solara, heir to the Elari throne," she declared. "You will speak your name so that it is known to all." Aaron cleared his throat, still unsure of what else to do. "My name is Aaron. I am a technician on the human ship Horizon." The guards murmured softly at his words, perhaps surprised by the simplicity of his title. Solara raised her hand, silencing them. "Aaron of Horizon," she said, her voice steady, "you are bound by honor to me. From this moment, you are not only guest but chosen. Our law does not allow such vows to be broken. To deny them would bring dishonor not only to me, but to your people as well." Aaron's stomach sank. He understood now why her guards had knelt, why the chanting had begun. This was not a small mistake. In her culture, words had power, and once spoken, they could not be taken back. He thought of trying again to explain. He could say it was not serious, that humans did not mean such things in the same way. But then he imagined the result. If he made her lose face in front of her own guards, it could create anger, maybe even war. One joke had placed him in the middle of a situation bigger than himself. Solara leaned forward slightly. "Do you wish to deny me now, Aaron of Horizon?" The room grew silent. Every guard watched him, their hands resting on the hilts of their weapons. Aaron's chest tightened. He wanted to shout that he was not ready for this, that it was all a mistake, but the words stuck in his throat. At last, he gave a slow nod. "No, Princess Solara. I do not deny you." The tension in the room eased. The guards stood straighter, some nodding with approval. Solara's lips curved into the smallest smile, the first sign of softness he had seen on her face. "Then it is settled," she said. "You are accepted." The guards struck the floor with their staffs in unison, a sound that echoed like thunder. Aaron flinched, but Solara rose to her feet and walked down from the throne. She stood close to him, her presence both graceful and commanding. "You will be taken to the royal palace," she said. "There, the council will see you and know my choice." Aaron felt his knees weaken. Palace. Council. Choice. Each word made his situation more real. He was no longer just a technician on a simple repair job. Somehow, he had been pulled into the center of an alien empire. As the guards escorted him through the corridors once more, he noticed the way other aliens stared at him. Some looked curious, others suspicious, and a few even hostile. Whispers followed him like shadows. He had become something important in their eyes, though he did not understand why. When they reached a chamber prepared for guests, the guards stepped aside. One spoke in a deep voice. "You will rest here until the ship arrives at the home world. Food will be brought. You are under royal protection now." Aaron entered the chamber. It was larger than his cabin on Horizon, with walls that glowed softly and furniture carved from smooth stone. A bed rested against the wall, covered in silver fabric. He sat heavily upon it, his mind spinning. The door closed behind him, leaving him in silence. He buried his face in his hands. He had come to fix a broken machine. Now he was caught in an alien tradition he barely understood. One careless joke had turned into a promise that could shape the fate of two peoples. Lying back on the bed, he stared at the glowing ceiling. He wanted to believe this was all a dream, that he would wake up back in his shuttle, tools in hand. But the memory of Solara's sharp eyes and calm voice told him it was real. Somewhere beyond the stars, the horizon was still waiting for him. He wondered what his captain would say when they learned their technician had been claimed as the future husband of an alien princess. For now, he could only wait and hope that he would find a way to survive the path he had stepped onto. The Ilari ship glided through space like a silent predator. Its surface glowed with faint light, and its engines moved without sound. Aaron sat in his chamber, staring at the strange walls that pulsed gently like the veins of a living creature. Time passed slowly. He had no window to see the stars, only the steady glow of the crystals above. He thought again and again about what had happened. He had made a joke, and now he was considered the future husband of a princess. He wanted to laugh at the madness of it, but each time he remembered the guard's serious eyes, the weight of their tradition, and the calm certainty of Princess Solara. To them, this was no mistake. To them, his words had been sacred. A soft chime came from the door. It opened, and a figure stepped inside. Solara herself entered, her robe flowing like water. 2 guards stood outside but did not follow her in. Aaron quickly stood, unsure of what was proper. "Sit," Solara said in her calm voice. "You are under no chains here. You may rest as you wish." Aaron nodded and sat back down, though his hands twisted nervously in his lap. Solara walked across the chamber and studied him. Her gaze was sharp, yet not cruel. "You are quiet," she said. "Do you regret the words you spoke?" Aaron hesitated. He wanted to say yes. He wanted to explain it had only been a joke. But again, he feared how she would react. Instead, he chose safer words. "I did not expect them to mean so much here," he said slowly. "On my world, such words are not binding. They are spoken lightly, sometimes only in humor." Solara tilted her head, her crown catching the light. "Strange," she said. "Among the Ilari, words are as strong as steel. A promise is not dust in the air. It binds the heart and the honor of the one who speaks it. To give your words without meaning is seen as weakness. Yet you gave them boldly." Aaron lowered his eyes. "I was nervous. I was trying to calm myself." For a long moment, Solara was silent. Then she stepped closer. "Perhaps you did not intend it, but I believe there is truth hidden in your spirit. You are not like the warriors of my people, yet you have courage. I saw it when you faced me without fear." Aaron almost laughed. Fear had filled him from head to toe, but he bit back his reply. It was clear Solara had chosen to see his words as strength, and he could not change her mind. Before he could answer, the door opened again. An older alien entered, wearing long robes marked with silver lines. His face was stern, his eyes narrow. He bowed slightly to Solara, then glanced at Aaron. "Princess," the elder said, "the council must be informed before arrival. They will not be pleased." "I am aware," Solara replied. The elder frowned. "Forgive my boldness, but choosing a human? The council values tradition. They will see this as weakness. The people may question your judgment." Solara's voice turned firm. "The council advises, but I decide. Their doubt does not change my will." The elder's eyes shifted back to Aaron, full of suspicion. He studied him as though Aaron were a broken tool. "Does he even know our customs? Can he even stand in a hall of honor without shame? This choice may bring division, not strength." Aaron's cheeks burned. He wanted to defend himself, but he had no knowledge of their customs. He was a stranger in every way. Solara raised her hand, silencing the elder. "He will learn," she said. "He will face the council. Let them see with their own eyes." The elder bowed again, though his eyes still carried doubt. He left the chamber, the door sliding shut behind him. Aaron let out a breath he had been holding. "He does not like me," he said softly. Solara's gaze did not waver. "The council respects strength above all. They do not yet see yours. They believe humans are weak because your bodies are not as strong as ours, your weapons not as old as ours. But strength is not only muscle or blade. If you prove this, their voices will fall silent." Aaron shook his head. "I am not a warrior. I fix things. Machines, relays, tools. I cannot fight your battles." Solara's lips curved into the faintest smile. "A kingdom needs more than warriors. A clever mind can win wars that swords cannot. I believe you will show them." Aaron was not sure if she truly believed this or if she only spoke to comfort him. Either way, he felt the weight of her faith pressing on him. The next day, the ship reached the Ilari homeworld. Through the window of a transport craft, Aaron saw a planet covered in silver seas and green continents marked with shining cities. Towers rose high, their tops glowing with crystal light. Vast bridges stretched between cliffs, and ships moved like birds through the skies. It was beautiful, yet intimidating. They landed at a palace carved into the side of a mountain. Its walls gleamed like polished stone, and waterfalls poured down beside tall stairways. Guards in shining armor lined the entrance. Aaron followed Solara into the grand hall. The council awaited them. 10 elders sat in a half-circle, their robes long, their faces serious. Their eyes turned sharply toward Aaron as he entered. He felt their judgment like cold air against his skin. Solara stood tall at the center. "Honored council," she said, her voice echoing. "This is Aaron of Horizon. He has spoken words that bind him to me. By law, he is my chosen partner." The hall filled with whispers. Some elders shook their heads. One, with a scar across his cheek, spoke louder. "A human? This is folly. He has no honor among us. He has no strength. How can he stand beside our princess?" Another elder added, "If this is your choice, he must prove himself. If he fails, the people will not accept him." Aaron's stomach twisted. He had known this moment was coming, but hearing it aloud filled him with dread. Solara lifted her staff. "Then let him face a trial. Not of the body alone, but of the mind and spirit. If he passes, you will have no right to deny him." The elders murmured again. At last, the eldest among them, a woman with silver hair and steady eyes, nodded. "So it shall be. The human will be tested. If he survives, he may stand at your side. If he fails, you must release him." The hall grew silent. Aaron stood in the center, feeling the weight of every eye upon him. He had come as a technician to fix a broken machine, yet now he was trapped in a test that could decide not only his fate but perhaps the future of his people. He swallowed hard, his mind racing. He did not know their customs, their trials, or their ways. But he knew one thing. Whatever test awaited him, he would have to rely on the only strength he truly trusted, his human mind. The council chamber was silent after the eldest elder spoke. Aaron stood stiff, feeling every stare from the elders like arrows piercing his skin. The words of Solara echoed in his ears. He would face a trial, and if he failed, his bond with the princess would be broken. A part of him wanted to shout that this was not his choice, that he never asked for this, but another part reminded him that the situation had already gone too far. His careless joke had set this path, and now he had to walk it. Solara stepped closer to him, her presence calm and commanding. "Do not fear, she said softly, though her voice carried through the chamber. The test will not be of brute strength alone. It is designed to show the truth of a person's spirit. You will find a way. Aaron nodded weakly. His stomach twisted with nerves. He had never been tested before except in training as a technician, where mistakes meant broken machines, not life or death. Yet there was no escape now. The elders rose from their seats, and the scarred elder spoke. Tomorrow at first light, the human will enter the trial arena. There he will prove his worth, or he will leave this hall in shame. 2 guards escorted Aaron back to his chamber, where he paced the floor endlessly. He touched the smooth walls, wishing for a piece of old machinery to tinker with, something to calm his racing thoughts. But there was nothing. Only silence, broken by the sound of his own heartbeat. That night he barely slept. He lay awake on the silver bed, staring at the glowing ceiling. His mind kept imagining the trial. Would it be combat? A puzzle? Some cruel test made to humiliate him? He did not know. All he knew was that failing would not only end his strange bond with Solara but might also stain the reputation of humans in the eyes of the Ilari forever. At dawn, guards came for him. They led him through winding halls until he emerged into the open air. The trial arena was built into the mountainside, a great circle of stone surrounded by tall walls and glowing crystals. Thousands of Ilari filled the seats, their eyes locked on the center platform where Aaron now stood. Solara watched from a high balcony, her expression unreadable. The council sat beside her, their robes shining in the morning light. Aaron stood alone in the vast circle, his hands empty, his heart racing. A booming voice filled the arena, spoken by the elder with the scar. Human Aaron of Horizon, you stand before the people of the Ilari. You have spoken words that bind you to our princess, but you have not yet shown your worth. By law, you must face the trial of honor. Survive, and you may remain at her side. Fail, and you will be cast out. The crowd murmured in anticipation. Then the ground beneath Aaron shook. Panels opened, and strange machines rose from the stone floor. They were tall metal constructs shaped like warriors, their arms ending in glowing blades and heavy shields. Their eyes shone red, and their heads turned toward him like hunting animals. Aaron's blood ran cold. These were not living opponents but training machines, designed for combat. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his mind and his quick hands. The machines began to move forward, their steps heavy against the stone. Panic struck him for a moment, but then he forced himself to breathe. He was not a warrior, but he was a technician. Machines had weaknesses. Machines could be broken. As the first construct lunged, Aaron dove to the side. The glowing blade struck the ground where he had stood, leaving a deep mark. He scrambled toward the edge of the arena, where one of the panels had not closed fully. Through the small gap, he saw wires and glowing cores powering the machines. His heart leaped. This was something he understood. Dodging another strike, he pulled a small multi-tool from the pocket of his belt. It was the only thing he had carried, a habit of never leaving his ship without it. To others it was just a tool, but to him it was hope. He darted toward the gap and jammed the tool inside, cutting one of the wires. Sparks flew, and one of the constructs staggered, its movements slowing. The crowd gasped. Aaron smiled for the first time that morning. He had found a way. The other machines closed in, but now he knew their secret. They were strong and fast, but they were still machines. He dashed between them, dodging their glowing blades and searching for weak points. Each time he found a gap, he struck with his tool, cutting wires, twisting circuits, forcing systems to shut down. The battle turned into a dance of survival. Aaron's body ached, his breath came fast, but his mind stayed sharp. He used his knowledge of systems, his instinct for repairs, and turned them into weapons. One by one, the constructs fell, their red eyes dimming as their power failed. The crowd's murmurs grew into shouts. At first they had expected to see him crushed in moments. Now they saw something else. They saw a human who fought not with muscle but with cleverness. A human who turned weakness into strength. At last, the final machine fell with a loud crash, smoke rising from its broken circuits. Aaron stood in the center of the arena, chest heaving, sweat dripping down his face. His hands shook, but he was still standing. The arena fell silent for a long breath. Then the sound of staffs striking stone filled the air. The crowd rose to their feet, shouting, cheering. Aaron blinked in disbelief. They were not mocking him. They were praising him. On the balcony, the council sat with unreadable faces, but even they could not deny what they had seen. Solara, however, smiled openly. Her eyes met his, and she gave the smallest nod, a silent message of pride. The elder with silver hair rose and spoke. The trial is complete. The human has faced the machines of war and stood victorious. He did not use strength of body, but strength of mind. This too is honor. The crowd roared again, their voices echoing through the mountains. Aaron sank to his knees, relief flooding through him. He had survived. He had proved himself, not as a warrior, but as what he truly was, a human who built, repaired, and adapted. Solara stood tall beside the council. Let all who doubt see now, she declared. Humans may not be as we are, but they have their own strength. Aaron has shown this today. Aaron raised his eyes to her. For the first time since this strange journey began, he felt a spark of pride. He had not failed. He had shown them who he truly was. And deep within, he knew this was only the beginning. The sound of cheering still echoed in Aaron's ears long after the trial had ended. He walked through the palace halls with Solara at his side, her guards following behind. Every servant and soldier they passed bowed to her, but many eyes lingered on him. Some looked with respect, others with curiosity, and a few with open doubt. Solara led him to a high balcony that overlooked the city. The towers of the Ilari shone like crystal spears under the sun. Great bridges stretched across the mountains, and ships glided in and out of the sky docks. From here, Aaron could see the vast silver sea sparkling far below. You have done more than I expected, Solara said, her voice calm yet warm. The council may still doubt, but the people saw your trial. They will remember. Aaron leaned on the railing, trying to steady his breathing. I almost died down there, he admitted. If not for a few lucky breaks, those machines would have cut me to pieces. Solara shook her head gently. It was not luck. It was your mind. You turned weakness into strength. That is a lesson even my people forget. Aaron gave a small laugh. I never thought fixing wires would impress an entire empire. Solara's lips curved slightly, though her eyes remained serious. Do not let the cheers deceive you. There are some who will not accept you, no matter what you prove. They fear change. They fear what I have chosen. Aaron turned to her. Then why keep this choice? If it makes things harder for you, why not tell them the truth? That it was a misunderstanding. Her gaze locked on his. Because I do not see it as a mistake. You spoke, and I accepted. That bond has meaning to me. And now you have shown the people that humans are more than they believed. Aaron opened his mouth to reply, but a guard approached and bowed. Princess, the council requests your presence in the lower chambers. There is talk of unrest. Silara's expression hardened. Unrest. The guard nodded. There are whispers of a faction within the court that sees your union with the human as weakness. They gather support quietly. Aaron felt a chill crawl up his spine. Rebellion, he asked. Silara did not answer directly. I will face the council. You should rest, Aaron. This matter concerns my people. But Aaron's instincts as a technician often told him when something was wrong. He saw the tension in the guard's stance and the flicker in Silara's eyes. This was not a small issue. Something dangerous was growing. That night, while Silara met with the council, Aaron wandered the palace corridors. The walls were alive with glowing patterns, and the air smelled faintly of crystal dust. He passed groups of servants who stopped their whispers when he walked by. Some bowed awkwardly, others turned away. As he neared a side hall, he heard voices speaking in low tones. He stopped, pressing himself against the wall. The princess is blinded, one voice hissed. She ties herself to a human, and the council grows weak with doubt. If we allow this, our enemies will see us as broken. Another voice answered, deeper and harsher. Then we must act. The defense shields are our strength. If they fall, the people will see her failure. They will beg for new leadership. Aaron's heart pounded. Defense shields. He had seen them when the transport ship entered orbit, vast rings of light that surrounded the planet, protecting it from invasion. If someone sabotaged them, the world would be left open to attack. He leaned closer, trying to hear more, but his foot brushed against a loose stone. The sound echoed faintly. The voices stopped. Aaron held his breath. A moment later, the hall went quiet. Whoever they were, they had slipped away into the shadows. Aaron waited, then hurried back toward his chamber. His mind spun. These were not just whispers of rebellion. This was a plan. If the shields failed, the Empire would be exposed. And from what Silara had told him, they had old rivals who would strike the moment weakness showed. When Silara returned later, Aaron told her everything he had overheard. Her expression darkened, though she did not seem surprised. I feared this, she said. There are always those who seek power through chaos. But if what you heard is true, then they plan to strike soon. Aaron leaned forward. You need to check the shield systems. If they are tampered with, it might already be too late. Silara studied him for a long moment. You speak with certainty, as if you understand these things. Aaron nodded. I have worked with systems all my life. If someone wants to disable the shields, they would target the power conduits or the control nodes. If you let me see them, I might know what to look for. The princess considered his words. At last, she gave a nod. Very well. Tomorrow, I will take you to the shield chamber. If there is sabotage, we must find it. The next day, Silara led Aaron and a small group of guards into the mountain's heart, where the shield controls were kept. They passed through heavy doors carved with ancient runes until they reached a vast chamber filled with glowing crystals and humming conduits. Energy pulsed through the walls, rising toward the surface to feed the planet's protective rings. Aaron walked slowly, his eyes scanning every panel, every wire. Something caught his attention. A section of conduits near the far wall glowed faintly red instead of blue. He hurried over and crouched. This isn't right, he said. Someone has rerouted the power. If this continues, the energy will overload and burn out the core. The shields will collapse from within. The guards murmured, alarmed. Silara's eyes hardened. Can you stop it? Aaron pulled out his multi-tool. I can try, but whoever did this knew what they were doing. It's set to trigger soon. His hands worked quickly, twisting wires, cutting false connections, rerouting power back into stable lines. Sweat ran down his face as sparks flew. He could almost hear the system straining, like a giant beast on the edge of collapse. Finally, with one last twist, the red glow faded into steady blue. The hum of the chamber leveled out. Aaron let out a breath of relief. It's stable, he said. For now. But someone will try again. Silaro looked at him with a mix of gratitude and steel. Then we must find them before they strike again. Aaron nodded. He knew now that his place here was no longer just about a mistaken promise. He had uncovered a rebellion, one that could bring down an empire. And deep inside, he felt something new: purpose. For the first time since this began, he was not just reacting to events. He was part of them, shaping what came next. The discovery in the shield chamber changed everything. Silara called an emergency council the next morning, and Aaron stood beside her as she spoke. Her voice was strong, her words sharp. She explained how someone had tried to sabotage the defense shields, and how Aaron had stopped the failure just in time. Some council members praised her for swift action. Others whispered among themselves, their eyes darting toward Aaron. He could almost feel their doubts crawling like shadows across the hall. One elder finally rose. Princess, you claim this human saved our shields, but how can we trust his word? Perhaps he meddled with them first to gain your favor. Aaron's jaw tightened. He wanted to protest, but Silara raised her hand. Enough, she said. I know his heart. He did not cause this. He saved us. Still, the whispers would not stop. Aaron saw clearly that the rebellion was spreading. He thought of the voices he had overheard, the cold certainty in their tone. They would not stop until they had what they wanted. That night, as the moons rose over the silver sea, Aaron was awakened by shouts in the distance. He rushed to the balcony and saw smoke rising from the outer towers. Sirens rang across the city, and ships streaked through the sky. The attack had begun. Silara burst into his chamber, already dressed in armor of silver and blue. Her eyes burned with fire. They move tonight. The rebels have joined with an old enemy fleet. They strike at the palace. Aaron grabbed his toolkit and followed her through the halls. Guards ran past, their boots striking like thunder against the crystal floors. The walls shook as explosions echoed outside. When they reached the war chamber, Aaron saw the battle displayed on a massive crystal map. Dots of light moved across the sky above the city, enemy ships breaking through the outer defenses. The shields flickered weakly, still damaged from the earlier sabotage. They found another way into the system, Aaron said quickly. If the shields collapse, the city will fall in hours. Silara turned to him. Then we must hold until you can restore them. Can you do it? Aaron swallowed. I can try, but I'll need time. Silara placed her hand on his shoulder. Then I will give you that time. The palace shook again as enemy fire struck the outer walls. Guards rushed to defend the gates, and Silara led her warriors into battle. Aaron, meanwhile, ran with 2 escorts back to the shield chamber. The halls were filled with chaos, servants fleeing, soldiers clashing with armored rebels, sparks flying as weapons clashed against crystal blades. When Aaron reached the chamber, he saw more damage. Panels had been ripped open, conduits smashed. Someone had been here before him. The rebels were determined to bring the shields down completely. He set to work, his hands flying across wires and circuits. Sparks burned his fingers, but he ignored the pain. His escorts held the doors, fighting off intruders who tried to break through. Aaron worked faster, rerouting energy, forcing power back into the failing grid. Outside, Solara fought in the palace courtyard. Her blade shone under the twin moons as she struck down attackers. Around her, the loyal guards formed a wall, pushing the rebels back step by step. But for every enemy defeated, more poured through the broken gates. A shout came from the walls. Enemy ships were closing in. Fire rained down, shaking the palace foundations. Solara raised her voice above the chaos. Hold the line. For our people. For our honor. Back in the chamber, Aaron felt the system resisting him. The rebels had planted a timed overload deep in the circuits. If it triggered, the shields would collapse completely. He cursed under his breath and dug deeper into the system. He remembered the way Solara had trusted him, the way she had stood before the council without fear. He would not let her down. At last, he found the overload circuit. His fingers worked frantically, pulling it free and rerouting the core. A sudden surge of light filled the chamber, nearly blinding him. Then the hum of the shield system grew steady again, stronger than before. It's working, he gasped. The shields are rising. Above the city, the rings of light blazed to life once more. Enemy fire crashed against them and scattered harmlessly into the sky. The people below cried out in relief, their voices rising like a wave. But inside the palace, the battle still raged. Solara cut down the last of the attackers in the courtyard, her armor streaked with dust and blood. She looked to the sky and saw the shields burning bright again. A fierce smile crossed her face. She raised her sword high. The shields stand. The enemy has failed. Now drive them from our home. Her warriors roared and surged forward. The rebels, seeing their plan undone, faltered. Some fought desperately, others fled. The enemy fleet, unable to break through the restored shields, began to retreat into the darkness of space. When the last rebel fell, the courtyard grew quiet. The smoke lifted slowly, and the first light of dawn touched the city towers. Solara lowered her blade, breathing hard. Her guards cheered, but her eyes searched the halls until she found Aaron. He emerged from the chamber, exhausted, his clothes scorched from sparks. But he was smiling faintly. I think I fixed it, he said. Solara stepped forward, her expression softening. You did more than fix it? You saved us all. Aaron shook his head. No, we saved it together. You held the line. Without you, I would never have had the time. For a moment, they stood together in silence. Around them, the palace guards knelt in respect. The people of the city began to gather, lifting their voices in gratitude. Solara looked at Aaron with steady eyes. This was the battle for honor. And you, a human, stood with us. None can deny it now. You are not an outsider. You are part of this empire. Aaron felt the weight of her words. He had come here by mistake, a simple technician who had spoken one foolish joke. But now, he was something else. A partner in their survival. A symbol of unity between two worlds. As the sun rose higher, casting light across the city, Aaron realized that everything had changed. He was no longer just a visitor. He was woven into their future, bound not by accident, but by choice. And deep inside, he knew that the real journey was only beginning. The city was quiet after the battle. Smoke still drifted over the towers, and broken crystal from the palace gates lay scattered across the ground. Yet there was a strange calm in the air, the kind that followed great storms. The shields still glowed above the skies, strong and steady, proof that the empire had survived. Aaron stood on the same balcony where he had once looked out at the shining city with Solara. Now the scene below looked different. The people moved through the streets not in fear, but with hope. Citizens were cleaning the ruins together, helping guards carry the wounded, and raising banners of unity on the walls. He felt a deep weariness in his body. Every muscle ached from the long night, and his hands were covered in burns from the shield conduits. Still, there was a small smile on his face. Somehow, against all odds, he had made a difference. Solara joined him quietly. She wore her armor still, though her helmet was gone. Her long hair moved with the wind, and her eyes shone like polished stone. She looked at the city for a while before speaking. "They will remember this day," she said softly. "Not for the destruction, but for the courage that saved them." Aaron leaned against the railing. "Courage belongs to your people. I only patched wires and ran around trying not to get killed." Solara turned to him, her expression calm but serious. "You underestimate yourself. You faced what even my strongest warriors could not. You did not fight with strength of arm, but with strength of mind. That is no less important." Aaron rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed. "I just did what anyone in my place would have done." Solara shook her head. "No. Many would have fled. You stayed. You chose to stand with us, though you had every reason to walk away. That is why this empire owes you more than thanks. It owes you honor." Before Aaron could answer, a messenger arrived and bowed low. "Princess, the council requests your presence in the great hall. They wait for your word." Solara glanced at Aaron. "Come with me. This decision concerns you as much as me." The great hall was filled when they entered. Council members sat in their high seats, guards lined the walls, and citizens crowded at the doors. All eyes turned to Solara as she walked forward with Aaron at her side. One elder stood and raised his voice. "The rebellion has fallen, the enemy fleet is broken, and the shields are restored. The people cry out for leadership. Princess, what path do you choose for our future?" Solara lifted her chin. Her voice carried across the hall, clear and strong. "Our path is one of unity. Last night, our world stood on the edge of destruction. We survived not because of strength alone, but because of trust. Trust in one who is not of our world, but who stood with us as one of our own." Murmurs rose across the hall. Solara continued. "This human, Aaron, risked his life to save our shields, to defend our city, and to protect me. Without him, we would not stand here in peace today. I have chosen him, not by mistake, but by will. He is my partner, and through him, our people shall learn to see humanity not as strangers, but as allies." For a moment, silence filled the chamber. Then one council member stood and struck his staff to the floor. "The princess speaks true. We saw his courage. Let us honor her choice." Another followed, and then another. Soon the hall filled with the sound of staffs striking the ground, echoing like thunder. Even those who had doubted began to bow their heads. Aaron stood frozen. He could hardly believe what he was hearing. When he first came here, he had only wanted to fix a relay and go home. Now, an entire empire was accepting him as the partner of their princess. Scylla turned to him and extended her hand. Her voice softened, meant only for him. You once spoke words as a joke. But I accepted them because I saw truth behind them. Today, I ask again, not as duty, but as choice. Will you stand with me? Not as a mistake, but as my future. Aaron looked into her eyes. He thought of all that had happened: the tractor beam, the trial, the sabotage, the battle in the courtyard, the shield chamber. He remembered how he had doubted himself, how he had thought of running. And he remembered how she had stood by him every step, trusting him when no one else would. He took her hand firmly. Yes. I'll stand with you. The hall erupted in cheers. Guards saluted, citizens lifted their voices, and the council bowed their heads in respect. For the first time, Aaron felt not like an outsider, but like he belonged. Later, when the celebrations filled the city, Aaron and Scylla walked again on the balcony. Lanterns lit the streets below, and music drifted up from the squares. Aaron spoke quietly. Do you think your people will really accept me? Scylla gave a small smile. They already do. Some may take time, but they have seen your heart. That is stronger than any doubt. Aaron looked at the stars above. Somewhere out there was Earth, distant and small. He wondered what his people would think if they knew one of their own now stood as the chosen partner of an alien princess. He chuckled softly. If anyone told me this a month ago, I'd have laughed in their face. Scylla tilted her head. Do you regret it? He shook his head. No. Not anymore. She reached for his hand, and together they stood in silence, watching the lights of the city and the endless stars beyond. For Aaron, it was no longer about a careless joke. It was about the bond that had grown from it, a bond that had faced trials, rebellion, and battle. A bond that had changed him and her, and perhaps even the course of two civilizations. The night stretched on, but Aaron felt no fear of tomorrow. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt certain of where he was meant to be. It was not just a strange story anymore. It was a new beginning.